shocking moment. Jungkook promises to be Jimin's secret weapon. The ARMY world was once again rocked by a shocking moment involving BTS's two golden magne, Jimin and Jungkook. In an interaction that initially looks simple, Jungkook unexpectedly utters a sweet promise that seems to be a secret weapon for Jimin. The promise was not just an ordinary word, but a meaningful statement that made Jimin look calmer, even more confident in the midst of all the pressure he is facing. This incident began when the two were backstage after completing one of the important schedules. Jimin looked a little uneasy. His eyes lowered and his facial expression reflected the burden he was carrying. Jungkook, who was familiar with Jimin's every move, approached him without thinking. In a soft but firm voice, Jungkook whispered a sentence that sounded like a promise that could not be broken. ARMY, who had heard the leaked conversation, was immediately excited because Jungkook's promise sounds like something that could be Jimin's secret weapon to deal with all difficult situations. The promise not only gives a sense of security, but also contains great emotional strength. For Jimin, Jungkook's support felt like a shield protecting him, a weapon that allowed him to stand tall even when the world around him was hostile. The ARMY who witnessed the moment believed that Jungkook's sentence was not just a promise. He is the only one who is willing to be there for Jimin, in joy and sorrow. No wonder this moment immediately became a big highlight. Many fans argue that Jimin and Jungkook's relationship is much deeper than just a casual friendship, because it is clear how one sentence from Jungkook is able to change Jimin's mood in an instant. More than that, ARMY also feels that the pledge is a powerful reminder that behind the spotlight of the stage, there is a true brotherhood that is unshakable, with a sweet promise that is now dubbed as Jimin's secret weapon. The two once again showed the world how important being together is, supporting each other, and the power of a word spoken from the heart. And for ARMY, this moment will always be remembered as one of the most emotional pieces of Jimin and Jungkook's journey with BTS. Behind the curtain of the stage that night, the atmosphere was still filled with the cries of fans echoing in the arena. The spotlights have dimmed, but the energy of the show still hangs in the air. Jimin sat on a chair with his shoulders slumped slightly, his hands clenched into fists as if trying to contain the feelings raging inside him. Jungkook, who had just wiped the sweat from his face, immediately caught the small signal, something that others might not notice. But to him, Jimin's every expression was a language he could understand. Jungkook walked slowly towards Jimin, then gently patted his shoulder. Without saying much, he lowered his head slightly, looking into Jimin's eyes, who tried to hide his anxiety. And that's when Jungkook uttered a phrase that would later become the center of everyone's attention. In a low but confident voice, he said, "Hyung, don't be afraid. As long as I'm here, you'll never be alone. No matter what happens, I will be your shield. I promise." The sentence is simple, but the impact is tremendous. Jimin, who initially tried to restrain himself, could no longer hide his emotions. His eyes began to glaze over, his lips trembled, and he lowered his head with a heavy sigh. Jungkook, who saw that, immediately pulled her into a warm embrace. Let Jimin take off all the burdens he had kept alone all this time. For Jimin, Jungkook's promise felt like a solid fortress. He knows that in the stressful world of entertainment, words can be swords, but the presence of a truly trustworthy person is the most valuable weapon. Jungkook didn't just say to calm down, he said with complete confidence, as if the promise had been imprinted in his heart. Shortly after, some of the staff who witnessed the moment secretly admitted that the atmosphere of the backstage room changed dramatically. From a place that was once full of pressure, it suddenly turned into a warm space filled with fraternal energy. Even one of the staff said that the moment was like seeing an invisible shield forming around Jimin, just because of one promise from Jungkook. On social media, a small snippet of the moment was leaked and immediately became a hot topic. ARMY named Jungkook's sentence as a golden promise, a symbol of loyalty and unconditional love between the two BTS members. Many fans wrote how the words also gave strength to them personally. Some ARMYs even claimed to use the promise as a self-reinforcing spell when feeling weak. It was as if Jungkook had not only calmed Jimin, but also the millions of hearts that heard him. Jimin himself, after that moment, was seen more excited on stage and on several occasions. He smiled at Jungkook in a different way, full of gratitude and admiration, as if to say, "I will never forget what you just said." Jungkook only replied with a small smile, but behind it, there is great confidence that he is really ready to be a place to lean on Jimin whenever necessary. In the silence after the concert, when the stage lights had gone out and the cheers of thousands of fans only remained a faint echo in the ears, Jimin sat with a sigh of relief. His body was indeed tired, but his heart and mind were much more tired. There was a burden that he could not easily share with anyone, even with members he had been with for many years. The burden is not only about the busy schedule or demands of being a world idol, but also the small doubts that often arise. Is she enough? Is he really strong enough to stand in front of millions of eyes that always demand perfection? As he lowered his head, trying to control the tremors in his chest, he felt the presence of someone by his side. Jungkook. For Jimin, the presence of Magne always felt different. Jungkook didn't need to say much, just the look in his eyes. Jimin could feel that he was being understood. But that night, Jungkook didn't just stare. He made a promise. "Hyung, don't be afraid. As long as I'm here, you'll never be alone. No matter what happens, I will be your shield. I promise." Jimin was silent. The words went so deep, deeper than he thought. She wanted to reply with a smile, but her tears came first. In Jungkook's arms, all the defenses he had built up during this time collapsed instantly. For the first time in months, Jimin felt completely safe. As if the harsh world out there is no longer scary, because there is someone standing next to him, ready to protect him no matter what. In his little heart, Jimin muttered, "I don't know how I got so lucky. In a demanding life, I still have someone to hold me, even when I'm fragile." And that person is Jungkook. From that night on, Jimin kept Jungkook's sentence as a kind of mantra. Every time he hesitated, the voice returned. The promise became for him a secret weapon, not a weapon to attack, but a shield to defend. And what made him even more moved was the fact that the promise came from Jungkook, someone who since his debut he has seen grow from a shy teenager into a mature figure, full of confidence, and no doubt shows his love for those who are important to him. Jimin knows many people can say sweet, but few really live up to their words. Jungkook, with his sincere attitude, convinces Jimin that the promise is not just a speech, but a pledge. On the other hand, ARMY, who later learned about the moment through fan account stories and video footage, saw how the simple hug carried a deep meaning. They not only saw the interaction of the two BTS members, but also saw the symbol of a bond of brotherhood, trust, and genuine affection. Jungkook's one promise went viral, but for Jimin, it's more than words. It was a new breath that made him get back on his feet with his head held high.